Well, it's a fascinating question to me, and I referenced the man box earlier. And the man box is a phenomenon that we uncovered in the 1980s. And Paul Kivel was in Oakland working with African American teenagers who wouldn't engage in their own academic achievement. They weren't into education. And he got frustrated, so he just started asking them, what does it mean to you to be a man? And since then, this question's been asked many, many times of many, many different men. And there's themes to it. There's rules to what it means to be a man. And the rules are things like don't back down, compete, be aggressive, assert yourself. You're only as good as your last achievement, dominate women, be the provider, be stoic. In other words, don't feel, be self-reliant. And, there's some good and there's some bad in there. And there's even some good and some bad within some of those individual ideas, like be self-reliant, right? If you think of self-reliance on a 1 to 10 scale, I don't want to be a 1 on that scale where I'm dependent upon everyone else for anything I need, nor do I want to be a 10 where I cannot ask for help even when I need it.
Yeah.
And I've seen some pretty extreme examples of this, like men in really some physical discomfort, broken bones, like concussions, depression, anxiety, and they just won't ask for help. And so, I think we got to become more nuanced in our thinking about these rules and ask ourselves, where am I on a 1 to 10 scale? And where do I want to be? What serves me best in terms of my happiness and success? Because I don't think we're not very aware of these things, and nor do we put much thought into it.
Yeah. Maybe because of the way we were taught, like socially, what was normal, what has been normal, yeah, pictured, seen as normal.
Yeah. Well, and research shows that this socialization process starts really young, as soon as we get into groups of boys at 4 or 5 years of age. And we police ourselves. And then it's exacerbated by movies, social media, books we read. Think of all the action heroes in every movie you've ever seen, pretty much. They've got the emotional range of a grasshopper. And that's fine. I love those movies, but I think we got to realize, what are the messages that I'm taking in about being a man?
Yeah.
Is this really what I want? Because one of the things that we know is happiness is about connection, actually. It's about relationships. And that's come out of the 80-year-long longitudinal study at Harvard, the adult development study. And, George Vaillant, who headed that study up for many years, said, look, happiness is about love, full stop. It's about connection. And unfortunately, that part gets left out of our socialization. We're not socialized to be relational. We're not socialized to turn towards other people. We're socialized, I would argue, to be more individualistic.
Yeah.
And, it's like, I'm an island, I'm a rock, like I can do this all on myself, that's never going to be true. We don't do anything alone because we are interconnected and independent. But anyways, so I have a problem with the self-reliant piece to a point. I have a bigger problem with the be stoic piece.
Okay.
And be stoic translates to don't feel, be cool, don't show any emotion. And when, at least in the US, when we're growing up, if we show too much sadness or fear in front of others, we'll get one of the following insults. And forgive me, I'm going to throw some slurs out there. I apologize in advance, but I think it's important to talk about. And it's the words change, but the meanings don't across cultures for the most part. And so if we show too much sadness or fear in front of others, we will get insulted, usually by another boy or young man. I've also seen it from women, young women as well. But you'll get something like, dude, don't be such a don't be a little or don't be a little girl. And the message there is don't be feminine. That's wrong. And I don't think it takes getting those messages that many times, 4, 5, 6, before we're like, screw that. I'm never showing that again. I'm shutting that part of me down. And you jump back in the man box. And then on the other side of the emotional spectrum, on the positive side, if we show too much joy, love, romanticism, excitement, flamboyance, we'll get the insults of don't be so gay or don't be a fag. And the message there is don't be homosexual.
Yeah.
And again, we'll jump back in the man box. And so we shut down these big aspects of our humanity because we're human before we're men, I would argue. That, there's a whole full spectrum of humanity available to us. And in order to be quote unquote real men, we cut off parts of our humanity in order to fit into this box. And so the question then becomes for me, to what extent or what emotions are available to us without fear of humiliation. And I would say it's more or less three things. I'm sure there's some exceptions to this, but the big ones to me are lust, because if I talk about how good looking this woman is and how I'd like to sleep with her, that's safe because it indicates I'm heterosexual. There's stress, because if I tell you, Muhammad, oh my God, I am so stressed today, it says I'm busy, I'm important, I matter. But the biggest one to me is anger, some degree of anger, irritation, annoyance, frustration, up to anger, all the way up to rage. And most of our emotions, I would argue, get funneled or channeled through that anger lens. And we know that anger is often a secondary emotion. We know that anger quickly, like a third of a second quickly, follows on the heels of emotions like embarrassment, guilt, shame, anxiety, and fear. And we know that depression in men shows up as irritability. Let me say that again for those listening. Depression in men shows up as irritability and impatience, an externalization of blame. And so it creates this problem because the anger dynamic is such that it cuts us off from any possibility of us evolving or learning or looking at ourselves and saying, what's my part in this dynamic? What do I need to work on? What do I need to change? Instead, we're externalizing blame to the other person and saying or thinking, if this person would stop being such a fill in the blank, I wouldn't be so angry. And so the extension of this, or the conclusion of this, is the biggest complaints I hear in doing couples counseling for many years from women is, I can't connect with my husband. And my internal response is, yeah, no shit. Like, that makes complete sense to me. We're not socialized in that direction. We're not socialized to be relational. We're not socialized to know what we're feeling. We're not socialized to be great in communication and relationship. And the reason I love this idea is that I can tell men honestly, look, it's not your fault. You didn't ask to be socialized like this. It just happens. But the caveat to that is, I would argue it is our responsibility to evolve beyond it, to learn to embrace our full humanity and all the emotions available to us, because they all exist for a purpose. They're all messengers, with the exception of shame. I don't know why shame exists. I can make arguments for that, but it's just a shitty emotion. Anyway. So, because shame tells us we're unworthy of love, connection, and belonging. And I don't know of anything that makes us unworthy of love, connection, and belonging.
Yeah, but if you put that definition to it, but what if somebody actually isn't it a part of self-awareness where you know you've done something really shameful, and then you feel shame, isn't it?
Yeah, see, I think I would make a distinction between shame and guilt. And I'm all for guilt.
Okay.
I'm not all for shame.
Okay.
I think shame is kind of the snake in the grass that hides in the shadows, that lies to us and makes us want to withdraw from humanity or a relationship, thinking that we are unworthy of connection. Whereas guilt, if I wrong you and I'm appropriately guilty, guilt causes me to withdraw, think about, what did I do here? Like, what did I say that was hurtful? And then there's a boomerang effect, so it causes us to come back, and then I would apologize to you, ideally, and say, Muhammad, I'm really sorry I said that. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. That was thoughtless of me. And so guilt, I'm all for guilt. Shame, I think, is another beast entirely.
Makes sense. So
Because guilt is I did bad. Shame is I am bad.